Hey guys, welcome another edition of the Running Journey. I'm Rob. This is my brother Charlie. You guys know us as the two guys who run and don't really know anything about running, but are pretending to know a lot about running. We're excited because today we have a special guest. I have mentioned him in the past. We were lucky enough to meet up with him in Boston when we just ran the Boston Marathon. Not sure if you know, but Charlie and I both ran the Boston Marathon. Louis Cormier, our guest today, also ran the Boston Marathon. When I quit drinking, my wife bought me this book. It's From Addiction to Fitness. And she said, I don't know, I read on Amazon that it's good. I read the reviews on Amazon and it said it was good. It said it's for someone who, from addiction to fitness, and he talks about Appalachian Trail and Ironman and running and marathons, and I think you should read this. And I was in a dark-ish spot in my life. So I read your book and I was immediately inspired, and I knew that I'd be able to do it. After reading your book, I was like, all right, I'm going to be able to quit drinking. I can do this. The reviews on Amazon are pretty impressive. Feel free to, it's 5-star reviews. Pretty much everyone says how emotional, captivating your book is, inspiring, well-written story of a man who conquers his alcohol addiction through courage, determination, his family's love and support. We're thrilled to have you here, Louis Cormier from Memramcook, New Brunswick. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you very much for having me. It's my honor and pleasure to be here.
Honor and pleasure. Wow. Okay, man.
I,
Merci. So the
I,
first question I want to ask you is you've like this took, I'll say, balls, or this took courage to write, because in the first chapter you talk about how you were drinking in the morning, you talk about how you had a fight with your brother-in-law, you talk about how your wife was like leaving you or going to leave you. It's a very open and transparent and vulnerable book that you write here. You hold nothing back. So what motivated you to write the book in 2019, 20 years after you quit drinking?
well, after I walked the Appalachian Trail, or DAT as I know it, uh, it kind of opened my eyes to. I talked to on the AT. It seems like there's no filter. You meet somebody and you're friends with them, and it seems like you can talk about anything. And I've always wanted to write a book about my recovery. But then after walking the AT, I figured I can help people with my story, but I got to be honest. If I'm not honest with myself, the story is not the real story. So if I can help, I figure if I can help 5 people, one person, it's worth writing. And it helped me a lot just to write the book, to relive it. I relived it on the AT, but then I relived it writing the book, and seems like I've gone to the next chapter after writing the book. So I got no regret whatsoever, except for the first day I published it. It was like maybe I should not have done that, but once it's out there now, I've had a lot of good reviews like yours or other ones that came back to me and said it helped them a lot in their recovery. So no regret whatsoever writing the book, and now I got to figure out how to write another one.
That was going to be another one of my questions.
No, I only have one story, only one story to tell.
I doubt that for some reason.
Yeah. So no, there might be a sequel, but nothing in the plans. Nothing at the moment.
All right. Rob, you wanted me to ask a question now, or what? We're
I
alternating?
Bang, I don't know, because otherwise, here's what's gonna happen.
I have lots. So
You're
yeah.
gonna get mad at me because because you tend to let me speak because I've been speaking for you my whole life and I'm the louder one. And the next thing you know, in 40 minutes, I've been chatting with Louis and you're gonna go, I guess I don't get to speak because my brother is the only one who's allowed to speak on this show. So Louis,
No, it's all good.
I also have a lot of questions to ask, but I don't know. So otherwise, I'm just gonna keep talking and I'm not gonna let you in. So.
Yeah. So I did read your book this week. So
Oh wow.
it was I took the time to read it. So I appreciate you writing it. It was a really good story. I actually quit drinking 24 years ago, almost 23. So I was a lot younger when I quit. So a lot of the things I felt lucky because I quit so early. So it was a bit different, but did recognize a lot of those experiences. Like one of them, or a lot of them in sobriety, actually, after I quit drinking, reminded me. One of them was like the beer after hockey. I know Rob and I both play hockey, and when I first quit drinking, and then we're playing the sport that I love, hockey, and everyone's having beers after it, it was hard for me to adjust. So in your book, you talked about that. Any other kind of thoughts about adjusting to sober life and experiences that you kind of associated with drinking previously, and how but you enjoyed, and how you came to kind of enjoy them again?
Yeah, having the beer after hockey was one of the toughest one. Like you said, everybody's socializing, having a beer, and at first I was just leaving. I'd just get undressed and leave, and then after a while I started bringing a Gatorade or pop, and it was the same thing after the fire meeting we used to have. We don't have it anymore, but we used to have beer at the fire station and had a beer after the meetings, and everybody was like having a beer, and I felt like out of place. But after a while, it seems like you're looking at those guys and you're wondering, especially after hockey, you're thinking they're going to hurt in the morning and I'm going to feel great.
Yeah, totally.
I think I'm
And for me, like after a point, I kind of, that feeling went away, and I just started enjoying. I mean, as long as people weren't too crazy, but just enjoying the company and the conversation after hockey. At some point, that came back, and I was really happy about that. So
Yeah, the same way me. It just, they're having a beer, I'm having a talk, I'm having a water, and it's no big deal at all. So
yeah.
did
it's been 24 years, me too. So
Oh
23,
wow.
24, going on 24. So we stopped the same year.
2001 for me, yeah. So I guess
Okay,
23 for me, yeah. Sorry, bad math.
okay, that's okay. Pretty close.
there's
Yeah.
actually a lot of commonalities. Like, so there's that commonality between you two, but between me and you, Louis, there's like you were 40, you in your kind of early 40s or mid 40s when you quit drinking. You were a dad. I was that age when I quit drinking. You found running kind of by accident. You then did an Ironman. You've done 4 Ironman. I've done 4. Your first Ironman was a tough one, very tough. You talk about how difficult it was. 14 hours and 30 minutes. That's the time I did in my first Ironman. You
Wow,
wanted to
nice.
qualify for Boston your whole life. You finally ran Boston. I wanted to qualify for Boston my whole life. I finally ran Boston. I really enjoyed meeting you last week in Boston, and I don't want to jump ahead too much in Boston, but maybe I want to start there. Boston Marathon. You ran it. Tell me about how long you wanted to run it, qualify. Tell me the story about the Boston Marathon, qualifying for it, and what it meant to you.
Well, it was a goal after I stopped drinking. First thing, running 10K was a goal. And I thought there's never any way I can run a 10K. But then after 10K, I figure I can do 25. And after 25, I figure, well, the next step is a marathon. So after I ran my first marathon, I figured, well, Boston, I have to do Boston. And I ran quite a number of marathon, and really was always 5 minute, 10 minute, or 45 minute off pace. A couple of them that went real bad, but I was always missing it by 5 or 6 minutes. And I figured this is the last time I'm trying. I train my own program. I developed my own program, and I decided to do a lot of volume because every time I crashed at around 32 kilometers. And this time I was running like my long runs were 40, 38, 40, and then I would do a back 10 or 15 the next day or the day before. So I was doing, I brought it up to 140 kilometers a week for about 3, 4 weeks. And I figured I'm ready, and I wanted to do negative split for the plan. The plan was to do a negative split, the last one. Well, it was the same plan every time, but the last one did work out, and I did a negative split, and I cut my time, my qualifying time by 7 minutes. So Weather was perfect. It was a cheater marathon, like Charlie would say, but I did
Yeah,
not.
the weather was too nice.
The weather was too nice, but
Yeah.
it was the same in Boston last week. It was downhill, and I did not think it was a cheater marathon.
No, no.
So you qualified in November 2022
I qualified in 2022, passed the cutoff date for
and
2023.
7 minutes. So you beat it by 2 minutes, as it turns out.
And no, I beat it by 7 minutes.
Right, but they
The
had
the qualifying time.
right, and only the people who beat it by 5 minutes qualify actually got to
Oh,
run it, right?
oh, really? I wasn't aware of that. That's good.
Yeah. So there was a buddy of ours who did he beat it by 4.5 minutes or 4:40 or
I thought he missed
4:50.
it by like 5 seconds.
Yeah, it was 7 seconds, I think. And he missed, so he qualified by 5 minutes, and he missed. He's not. He didn't run Boston Marathon. He had booked his flights and his hotels and everything. He's a great guy, and he's gonna do it. I know he will. But like that was kind of demoralizing
Oh,
for him.
wow, I can imagine. Although my goal was always to qualify and not run it, I had
Like
not.
Rob.
I
Like
had
me.
not planned on running it. I just wanted to say I qualified for Boston. But
But
then
Charlie,
yeah, go ahead.
no, what was he doing? Sorry, you go.
Somebody told me you have to go. The experience in Boston is unreal, so you have to go. So I said, okay, I'm going.
So that's like me, and the part you were saying before is exactly like Charlie. Like Charlie, you believe, or I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm pretty sure you would agree with him on how people always fall. So you've done heavy mileage training weeks because you want to run a negative split, like the same thing Louis was just saying, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. To me, lots of miles always helps. I mean, as long as you don't get injured. Um, the last the last 10K of a marathon, that's when people crumble, right? So I think that's why you add those miles. So yeah, congratulations. That's amazing that you did it. Amazing that you decided to go. I had to convince Rob to go, but yeah, congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you very much. You both you guys too. Like you did it in a few years. I did it in 20.
We
Work
were
hard.
there to push. We were there to push each other a little bit. I
That's
think.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that helps. Yeah, for sure.
Is it my turn for a question,
Yes,
Rob?
it's your turn
Okay.
for a
Okay.
question.
So one of my favorite quotes I read in your book, and it's not about drinking. It's not about anything really. It's about what you can do. So you had talked about uh, training for an Ironman. I think it was in that context. I don't remember, but your quote was, "If other people could do it, then I could do it too." And you just kind of said it in passing during one of the quotes, and I really liked it because that's kind of the attitude I have. Like I feel like, I mean, if there's all these people that have finished a marathon, then like why can't I do it, or an Ironman, or whatever. But I do get people who sometimes ask me questions like, am I able to do an Ironman? And my answer is always yes. Other people can do it, you can do it, right? So I really like that quote. And so my question is not really a question, but I guess it's how did you come to have that attitude after you quit drinking, and how has it served you?
Well, what like probably the hardest thing I did in my life was to quit drinking.
Yeah.
So I figured if I can quit drinking, I can do anything that anybody else can.
Yeah.
So if people can run an Ironman, I can do an Ironman too. Like I've quit drinking, so why couldn't I do that? That's going to be easy, which it wasn't. But I never say an Ironman was easy. But compared to quitting drinking is hard. It's very hard for anybody that's addicted. Or quitting smoking is the same, and it's like
Yeah.
it kind of takes over your mind and your body, and it's why it's called an addiction. But yeah, I figured I can stop drinking. I can do an Ironman, and I can do a marathon, or I can qualify for Boston. But started to have doubt for Boston.
Yeah. No, that's great. Smoking was even harder for me. Took forever, but eventually it happened. But yeah, I kept saying other people have quit. Like, why can't I do it? Anyways, yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Rob.
No. You talk about uh, how accomplishing stuff, right? And you say on July 8th you walked out of this is how your book ends. On July 8th you walked out of the woods. 18 years to the day since you've had your last drink. So that's true. You finished your Appalachian Trail on the same day as you had your last drink.
As far as I know, yes. I
Yeah.
don't remember the exact date I quit, but I
Whatever.
think it was that date.
That's
Yeah,
your date.
it's true.
And you say you just accomplished another great achievement. You conquered the Appalachian Trail. The success of that day is a fraction of what I'd achieved 18 years before. Having to overcome my dependence on alcohol was 10 times harder. And yeah, more rewarding than walking all those miles on the trail. Anyways, so now looking back, do you think do you think it's in most of my adult life, Charlie, my brother, was the only person that I had ever known to have successfully quit drinking. I don't know about you, Charlie, but kind of the only person that I had known in my circle of friends in my culture. We drink. This is what we do. We're French Canadian. It's a heavy drinking culture, and everyone I knew drank. And then, now I've quit drinking, and I know another adult who's quit drinking, and now I know you. But I'm saying it's like do you know more people that have done Ironman or quit drinking? Do you think it was harder? Looking back, was it harder at
It
that time? Sorry, go ahead.
it was harder at that time. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was like training for an Ironman was fun.
yeah.
It's hard, but it's fun all the way. I
Yeah, yeah,
mean,
totally. Yeah,
during an Ironman you suffer,
yeah,
but
It's fun. It's
it's
good
a
pain.
type two. It's a type two fun. It's good pain. While
yeah,
people think Ironmans are hard, they are hard. They're easy because they're fun.
And you can
Quitting,
control the whole thing. You can control the whole
you,
thing. It's
you,
inside of you. Just keep moving one foot in front of the other. Whereby
uh,
the booze for me, it felt like, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it felt like someone else was controlling me. Like I was a puppet. Someone else was telling me to drink, but it was myself, but it was my brain, my subconscious. Someone else wanted me to put booze in my body, and it was hard.
oh yeah, there was a demon. There was a demon in my mind, and it was saying like, you gotta have that drink, no matter what you promise your wife, no matter what you promise yourself or your kids. You gotta have that drink. It's you're not gonna survive if you don't have that drink. Then you have that one drink and another one and another one, and once you have the first one, then the second one is a lot easier to convince yourself to have, and you're on a roll again for the next 2 months or 3 months till you decide to stop again and again and again, and it never works. Then all of a sudden it was like too far and I had to, or I was in a bad spot. I was in a really dark spot, uh, thinking of ending it all. I couldn't see any light at the end of the tunnel. An Ironman, you see the light. You know the finish line is there. You're going to reach it. It might be in 14 hours or 15 hours, but you're going to reach it, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be rewarding. You're going to hurt for a few days. Uh, to stop drinking is like it was. I'm going to do it for an hour, and I could not see a year down the road not having a drink. I could not see it. It was like you have to have that one drink. You have to have it. It's possessing you,
yeah.
and then you both know.
Yeah, that reminds me. Someone this week asked me like, "How do you get the motivation to train?" And I really didn't know how to answer that question before because I feel like I don't need any motivation to train. It's like the funnest thing in the world to do. And I think the way you answered that question kind of made me realize that it's because we were in a place before where like training didn't matter when you have an addiction. Like it's just, so we feel so. I think the reason is we feel so lucky to be able to train after having had that experience. Yeah, I feel like just anything I do in running or in whatever training is just I feel so lucky to be able to do it now, right?
Yeah, it's just a blessing. It's just like I had a arthritis bad on top of the drinking, and like you say, training was the furthest thing from my mind. It was like, how can I spend a day without drinking and please my wife and be happy? But I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I wanted to do it for so many years. Well, I really came down a bad hole like 3, 4 years. Like before that, it was like more social. Then it got to be where it wasn't social anymore. It was like that demon that was telling me, "You gotta have that drink. You got no choice. That's it." So even though you promise yourself you're not going to the liquor store, you stop at the liquor store on your way home and buy that drink. And then in the morning, you promise yourself that's the last one last night. But at the end there, it was like the promises were not there anymore. It's just I I just couldn't see any light whatsoever at the end of the tunnel. And I had a great wife. She was supporting me all the way, but at the end, she was like, You have to stop, or I can't go on living like this. We're going to lose the house. We're going to like I did not want to lose my kids, so I I kind of made a promise to myself. My daughter, I think, was around 12 at that time, and I said I won't drink till she graduate high school. And that I could see a light. I could see like I don't quit drinking. I just stopped drinking for a little bit of time, 5 years, 4 years. That's not too bad. I think I can do that, knowing I can get that one drink again in 4 or 5 years. So it's like a friend that you're losing, and you think it's a friend, but it's really not a friend at all. But you feel you have a friend like that. Drink, that feeling is feels like a friend. So by promising myself I'll do it for 5 years till my daughter graduate, I'll see my daughter graduating sober, and that kind of helped me a little bit. Then I found exercise, and with the exercise, it kept my mind off it. And when my daughter graduated, I had no plan on drinking anymore because I had conquered that demon. Although once in a while it used to come back for like I know I can have that drink. And now after walking the AT, I don't feel like that anymore. It's just like I don't want to ever have that drink because it's not good. It's not a friend. It's an enemy, and it's an enemy I don't want in my life. And I tried to get like people that are negative. I try to get them off. Like I try not to associate with them. Like I'm not unfriendly with them, but I don't try. I try not to socialize with.
People who are negative about you quitting drinking?
No, people who are negative about
Just
life, about
generally. Okay, yeah.
if unless they're trying to change. But if like you meet some people that are always negative, they just like they see everything in black and white, and everything is black. And I found that I had some good friends that I just they were not drinking buddies, but they were just good friends. But they were negative, always talking negative, and I just stopped associating with them because I knew I could not help them, and they were not helping me. So I
Life's too short.
just
Life's too short.
life's too short.
You don't need those people in
Exactly.
your life. And you are clearly a person who can decide what they want to do and can reach those goals. So anyone who's telling you you can't do something is really in your way. They're in
Yeah,
your way
exactly.
and they're problematic. And I get that. I totally get that. I've had people tell me you can't do this, Rob. You can't. And to me, it's like, well, one, I kind of enjoy it when people tell me I can't do something because it's turned into my motivator. But I get it. Like negative Nellies are Debbie Downers. Like we just don't need those people in our lives at all, and there's no reason to be. Be it Charlie.
No.
Always Charlie's got phenomenal perspective. My brother, not your dog, Louis. My brother, more than
My
you.
dog. Yeah,
Your
yeah,
dog's name is Charlie.
yeah. My dog's name is Charlie.
Yeah, and
Good name.
it's like he's always saying like be in the moment, you know, just feel how lucky you are to be running today. Like if I have a bad day, he'll be like, just feel how lucky you are to be running today, and you know, just and that's more of what I need in my life. More Louis Cormiers and Charlie's, and less negative Nellies. Um, I want to transition to ask you about that first stretch. People who listen to this running journey know that my story is I found fitness before I quit drinking. So kind of around the same time, but so I was overweight. I was not caring about what I was putting in my body, booze or food wise, and I started walking. And the walking for me felt so good. The walking felt good. I felt like, oh my God, I feel so good. I'm outside. I'm getting fresh air. I'm getting steps in. That turned into jogging, which then turned into a goal of a marathon, which turned into an Ironman, blah, blah, blah. How does your story start there? And I know you talk about it in the book, but I'm curious to see how you went from an alcoholic to running Ironman and doing the Appalachian Trail. Like you, obviously you didn't start overnight. For people who are watching this podcast, a lot of them are just starting out running or, you know.
Well, I started. My kids were my daughter and my son were racing mountain bikes, and I started riding with them. I was riding mountain bike with them, going off trails and crashing a lot, getting hurt a lot, but it was a good hurt. And I decided I wanted to do a race. Like I saw there were people my age, around in the 40s, that were racing mountain bike, and I figured they can do it, I can do it. So I started training, hiding, like, and then I joined a race as a beginner, and I was like, I can do it. I can't. It was one loop, but I figured I can do it. It's a motivation. It's something to look at. And then after that 1K or that one loop, that one race, I finished last, but I had so much fun. And I felt so blessed to be there instead of running. I figured next year, that was the last race of the year. I figured next year, I'm going to be in the top 5 of my age group. I can do it. There's about 10 in my age group, and I was always watching their time, and they were in top shape. And I said, I can do it. So I started putting on volume, going out for 4 or 5 hours a day on mountain bike, training with my kids, but training with friends. I had a couple, 3 or 4 paramedics that were wanting to come mountain bike riding with me, and we were always riding. And the next race, I finished third. I podium, so that was like so rewarding. And I figured, well, I can do a little better. So just add on a bit more miles and train a bit more, eat better. I got to eat better. So I trained better. I ate better. And it kept me sober, just being out like for 4 or 5 hours a day. I was working night at that time. So I would get up around when the kids would get home, go for about an hour ride with them, and then another 2 hours with the paramedics, and then go out and keep on riding. On the weekends, I would ride with my son like for 6, 8 hours, uh, mountain bike. And we did a race the next year. It was we both won gold medal, and that was again. It was a tough race. I did not know I was winning. I thought I passed a guy in a hill that I didn't even know. I congratulated him after the race that he won, and he said, "No, you won." So I didn't even know I won. But
You talk
after,
about that in the book. You say that you would go on these long bike rides because
yeah,
you weren't drinking if you were on a bike, right?
exactly. If I could, like on a Saturday, instead of getting up and having a beer or 2 beers, I would go out and go for a long ride. And my wife was supporting me. She knew I was feeling better. I was getting better, but I always wanted to run. I couldn't run. I had arthritis real bad. My brother had done a 10K in previous years, and like, my goal was to be able to do a 10K like him. And it took me about, I would say, a month to run my first K, even though I was biking, cycling 4 or 5 hours a day. I had so much knee pain. I couldn't run at all. It just hurt it like needles and pins and everything in my knee. But I figure I can run 2 minutes. I can do 3. So finally, I got my first kilometer in, and then I would run like I would run into wood where nobody would see me because I was so slow. but but I figure I can do a 10K, and I trained and I did a 10K. It took me like 6 months, but then from 10K to a marathon took me about 4. So
Wow.
it's the first 1K that's the toughest one. It's not the marathon is not that tough. It's the first 1K. You just add another K to that, and then another K, and go from there. But
Agreed. Yeah,
Oh my
that first
God,
K.
it's so good. Such
I
a
couldn't
great
even do a
perspective.
K when I started. I remember now.
Yeah,
yeah.
me neither.
But I didn't have arthritis, so yeah,
I was
that's
just fat.
amazing. Yeah, I was just very overweight. Yeah, same.
I was overweight too, but not when I started running. When I stopped drinking and started cycling, but
Yeah.
when I first I went to see my rheumatologist, and I was seeing a rheumatologist since the age of 26, and he said, I don't want you to run more than 5K. So I said, I'm registered for a marathon. He said, don't do it. I said, okay. He said, he told me, he said, I know you're going to do it, but I'm telling you not to do it. So
Yeah.
he retired this January, and I got hip problem like I was telling you in Boston. And I asked him, I said, should I keep running? He said, why not? You've been doing it and it's been successful for you, so don't stop now.
Yeah. Wow. Great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I got some questions about the AT, as you call it, the Appalachian Trail. So in your book, there was this guy called Fresh Ground. Sounded like a pretty cool guy, or pretty much of a character. So my question is, can you talk about that guy? And then, is there any other people that you still talk to after you finished the Appalachian Trail? Because it sounds like you made some really nice connections on that trail. So
I do have some really good friends that I talk to on Facebook. I've not met anybody since the AT
okay,
personally because they live far away.
yeah,
But there's about 4 or 5 young girls that I met that have done 100 milers, ultra marathons. One girl is she's leading some women's group to empower women to run and bike and cycle. She's in Colorado, and and they're doing phenomenal things. After doing the AT, they also realize we can do more. Uh, a couple of them. One guy I had met, he had done an Ironman. He did 100 miler a few years ago. He did qualify for Boston, which was a big accomplishment for him too. And he's only 28, 27. They're all like younger. Most of the
yeah,
people I met
yeah,
on the AT were younger. I don't know why I did not associate it. Well, I think I know why I did not associate with people my age is they were too slow. I was in great shape, and I was following the 20, 30-year-old guys, gals. So we were in the same pace. People my age were like most of them very slow or very fast, not my speed. So I met some great guys. One guy had both hip replacement, and he was doing the AT. He had the second hip replaced 5 months before he was doing the AT. He wasn't very fast, but he was doing it, and that like very motivational. But most of the ones I stayed in common were younger, and they're most of them are doing great thing. One guy's getting married this summer, so
oh wow,
uh, talking about fresh ground, I've only met him one day. He's doing a lot for the AT, but I only met him at he did Trail Magic. He gave me some great food, but he's out there following certain hikers, and he's helping every hikers. He cooks like 3-4 course meal when you get to the road, and he has his van, and he says he's inspired, and his instead of walking the trail, he feeds people walking the trail. But there's a lot of trail angel along their way. They like you show up at a road crossing, and there's a whole family helping, like cooking a big meal or a big church group, and they're just there. They're not asking anything in return. They're just there to put a smile on my face or a hiker's face, and it puts a smile on their face. They want to know your story. They want to know, like, what motivates you to hike the AT, because the AT is a lot harder.
Yeah, can we talk about the AT? So it's what? It's 2,200 miles, something like
Yeah,
that?
2,200 miles, something like 3,600 kilometer.
Okay, and most people do it from when to when, and how long does it take? And what did you do? How many kilometers per day did you do?
I was doing about 40, 45 kilometers a day on average before I hit the White Mountains. So New Hampshire is really hard. But the AT, it's 3,600 around 3,600 kilometers, 2,200 miles. It starts in Georgia in the mountains, and it follows the Appalachian Mountains all the way to Maine, where it finished in Katahdin and Baxter State. And I'm not sure about 80%, but a good percentage is a single track trail through the mountains, up and down. And for some reason, the AT, there's a conservancy. They make you go up every mountain just to say that. I don't know why, but like even there's a road shorter, they'll say that's where the trail goes. You got to go up that mountain for no reason, but so you just follow. And some days are really hard. Most people get shin splint. That's one of the biggest injury. Going down mountains, they get shin splints. People quit. There's about 20% success rate from people that start to finish.
And younger people do it more than it's a lot.
No. It's usually any age. What I found during when I was there was a lot of college graduate. They have a leap year. So they decide to do it in their leap year, or high school graduate, like 19-year-old, 18-year-old, they do it. Or some people, they lose their job or go through a divorce and around their 40th, or you see some of that age too. And then there's retiree. It seems like there's a big group of students, retiree, and then some middle age. Then there's some of every age that decide, I'm going to do it. But it's not common. It's hard to take 4 months. It takes usually 4 to 6 months. For me, it took me 117 days. But to take 4 or 6 months, if you have a family, or so, although you see, I met a whole family of 5, 3 kids, and they were doing it, school.
School in the tent,
homeschooling, homeschooling, and
multiplication tables on the trail.
Oh yeah, they were. It's.
Is it doable as a family? No, I can't.
Here we go.
Oh yeah. There's a family.
Charlie's got a plan. Charlie.
No, I don't. No. My kids are way too. No, my kids can't do it.
Yeah, no, the youngest that's done it, I think, is. Well, he was between 0 and 2 when he did it, because he. So they carried the kids. His family of 5 did it a couple of years ago. 5 kids between the age of 4 and 17, I think.
Yikes! That's like my family.
And no, you can do it. There's one guy that did it that's visually impaired, like he can see a little bit. People have done it barefoot. It's amazing what people can. If you put your mind to it, what you can accomplish.
Well, Well, that's
because
one less.
it's a hard trip. Compared to stopping to drink, it's probably the second hardest thing I've done in my life. It is real hard, but there again, it's rewarding. You get a reward every morning. You get a nice sunrise, unless it's raining for 8 days. But
Yeah.
it's quite rewarding to hike that trail. There's two more long distance trail in the U.S. Uh, Pacific Crest Trail and the Continental Divide. And people that do all three, they're called Triple Crowners. And a couple of my friends that I did the AT with have done the Triple Crown.
Is it on your list? You want to do that?
Uh, it's something I would like to do, but I don't think I'll do it. It just takes too much away from the family. I got so many projects at home I want to do right now. I got. I'd like to do it though. I might do it in section. There's a nice trail in Canada that's the Continental Divide Trail. It goes through the Rockies from Canadian border to Jasper, I think.
Cross
And I've
Canada
got
Jack said that he wanted to do that trail, right, Charlie? When we interviewed Cross Canada
Yeah, I
Jack,
think so. Yeah.
he wanted to do from like Jasper all the way down to Mexico or whatever.
well, that's the CTD, yeah. But there's the sorry, the Canadian is the Great Divide Trail.
Okay.
It's in Canada, and it goes through all the national parks in Canada. And it would takes a bit less than the CTD or the PCT because they're long. Those are even longer than the AT.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
but they're easier. They're one of them is you can cycle it, so it's graded differently. It's graded for horse and
Oh, okay.
bicycle.
The Appalachian Trail, I'm guessing, has a lot more elevation changes and.
It's got more ups and downs, and it's single track most of the way.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. Can't ride a bike on it.
switchback. You can't ride a bike there. No, not even a
No.
mountain bike.
Yeah, yeah,
You'd kill yourself.
yeah, yeah.
Someplace you need to climb. They got rebar so that you can climb in the mountains.
Well, I remember you were explaining that one part where you were going over the boulders and down, up and down the boulders. That sounded really hard.
Yeah, there's one section they call the hardest mile on the AT.
Oh, the hardest mile. Yeah, that's what it's called. Yeah.
Yeah, I fell. I broke 3 ribs.
Oh, yeah, you broke your ribs. And now I remember. Yeah, yeah.
I could feel my ribs. I could feel like when I was moving and like with my hands, I could feel the crepitation in the ribs. I thought that's it, and it didn't hurt that much. Like it did hurt a lot that time, but for the next few days it wasn't too bad. So I figured I'll keep going. And I only had like 18, 20 days to go, so I figured no, I can't go home now.
But those are 8-hour days. 18.
Yeah, only 18 days. Yeah, no problem.
18 days, 40 some miles a day. And I thought it was the easiest part coming up because I was done at New Hampshire, but Maine is just as hard and muddier and wet. Like, the trails are not as nice because there's less volunteer in Maine and it's a big state. So all those trails are maintained by volunteer. So it's amazing that they can, like, volunteer can do trails that long and maintain it, and just for us to hike it. When you're coming here to run, you should take 3 days, and I could bring you through the Fundy Footpath, Rob.
Well, I have 550 kilometers to do, so I don't know if I'll have.
That's only another 60 after you're done.
Yeah,
you what I'll do.
On your last day, just do an extra 60 kilometers.
Right. Yeah. That's not a bad idea. I'll tell you what I'll do though. I do like to get like I kind of want to try some of this trail running. Like I haven't really done much of it, so like I can't do it this time. But I'll go back and I wouldn't mind. Like that's Fundy. You do that in what? How long would that take? 16.
The Fundy Footpath. Usually it's with a backpack, and you usually take well, person in shape like you could do it in 2 nights, 3 days,
Okay.
or you can challenge yourself and do it in one day without a backpack. I do it with my. We got the challenge this summer with my son to do it in one day. We start like at either 8 or 9 at night, go through the night, and then come out around 4 or 4:30 the next afternoon.
Okay.
It's 62 kilometers, but there's a lot of elevation change, and it's not a race. It's just a backcountry, really wilderness along the Fundy Coast, and it's so beautiful and really really challenging. Everybody down here thinks it's just as hard, if not harder, than an Ironman.
So I did
Uh,
the when I went on my honeymoon, I went down there to Bay of Fundy. I remember I loved it. It was so beautiful. I just remember how awesome it was. Charlie, do you want to go here, or Liz? I'm going to ask something about. No, so I want to ask you about. I asked you this in Boston, but do you find that guys like us who have a tendency to become alcoholics transfer very well over to the fitness side? Do you think it's random, or do you think we just happen to be a sample size of people who have done that? What's your thoughts on that?
I think we're just a small group because I know since I wrote the book, like probably you guys being on the podcast, you might start to get people that tell you they're recovered. But since I wrote the book, there's a lot of people that come to me and told me they stopped drinking. And it's been 10 years and they're not fit at all. But uh,
At least they're not
uh,
drinking.
they're not drinking. They found something else, either photography or bird watching, or they need, most of them have another hobby. Some of them go to AA, or I've never gone to AA. Oh, I've gone to a few meetings, but it wasn't for me. I think AA is great because it has helped a lot of people. But I did talks in different groups. I went to talk to a youth group, which it's an addiction program, a recovery program. It's about a 1 year, and they're only like addicted at 14, 15 years old. And I was telling them about my life and about how I recovered, and they feel it's so great that if I can do it at 40, they're only 15, 14. They haven't wasted all their lives. They wasted a year, 2 years at addiction, and it opens their eyes that there's so much more that they can do. But it doesn't have to be fitness. Like for us, it's fitness. For other people, it's photography or any other hobbies that
But it's
cars.
hard. It's hard if you drink and you work and you have a family to sneak in other hobbies.
Yeah,
Like for me,
exactly.
I look back at my life 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Like my hobbies was drinking, right? So like you'd go to a Jets game, you'd have drinks. You'd go to golfing, you'd have drinks. You anything you do, you're drinking. So there's no other time because you're recovering, then you're depressed the next day about your night out, and then you get these blues, and you end up just not being able to be productive at all.
Exactly, exactly. You find every excuse you can to drink, not to have a good time, but to go somewhere where you can have a drink. Like
Yeah. And now I have all
it's
this time. Now I have all this. People ask me all the time, Rob, I don't know how you do it. You have a business, a charity, a family, you're doing your PhD. I'm like, this is the most amount of time I've ever had in my life. Like I have so much time in my calendar right now. Like, and I'm more efficient at work, and like I'm healthier, and I'm able to, like, it's for me it's like complete. I don't know how I did it before, should have been the question. I don't know how I did half the stuff of what I was doing before when I was doing that. Now it's easy. I'm sober, and I'm
exactly.
and I'm fit, and I'm clear-minded all the time. Every decision I make on an everyday basis, I'm I'm clear-minded. So like I never have to worry about making a bad decision at work because maybe I was too stressed or whatever. Like I'm clear-minded, I sleep well, I'm healthy. Like it's so fun, that piece.
Yeah, exactly. It's you're no longer like chasing that high with alcohol. You're
Yeah,
chasing that
it's
high with
with the race
success. With success,
or
like
the races now. Charlie and I, we're
well,
chasing
the
that.
races. I hate
We're
racing.
You don't like it? Oh my God.
I,
Yesterday Charlie and I were talking, or last podcast we were talking, and I was like, I know what I like. And he's like, me too. I like races. I like traveling to do stuff, and I like inspiring people to run. And Charlie's like, yeah, I love races. Races are so fun. But then Charlie said he loves the journey more, almost more than the race itself.
Well, for me, it's the journey. It's all about the journey. I like to train. I love training. Like I'm trying to find another big race or something big I can do so that I can train. I'm like Charlie. I love the journey. The race itself, that stresses me. I put too much pressure on myself. It's
Yeah, I also tend to do that. Too much pressure. Yeah.
I overanalyze things. I don't go there for just having fun. I go there for winning and or not in Boston winning, but like qualify or like I
Time.
have a
There's always
goal.
a goal
There's
there.
always the
Yeah.
goal.
There's always
Yeah.
a goal.
We get
I feel
consumed by
like
these
that's
goals.
when I perform the least well is when I'm too focused on a goal. Uh, so I feel like goals can sometimes be counterproductive for me, anyways. There's a point in your book where you talk about like I've been sober more than I've been drinking, way more. So sometimes there to me there's been hard times in sobriety, and you talk about your book in chapter 14 where you maybe spent a lot of time reflecting on mistakes, but that you found a way to stay positive about having turned your life around. Like to me, that's been a challenge for me in my entire sobriety is sometimes just not focusing too much on the mistakes and just staying positive. So talk about how you were able to just stay positive, even though you had some really hard times in the past. So
I'm not sure what you mean.
well, so in chapter 14, you battled depression a little bit, right? And you talked about how you were reflecting a lot on your mistakes, and that could this was during your trail, during the Appalachian Trail, and there were some moments where you were a little bit negative, but you were able to turn that around by saying, I'll stay positive because I can focus on the fact that I've turned my life around, and that made you stay positive.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. During the AT, you get so much time to reflect, and
Yeah,
you're alone in your thoughts for 2-3 days at a time without like really talking to anybody sometimes.
yeah, yeah,
And the bad stuff that I did when I was drinking, and the promises I made to my wife, they started popping in like the promises I made to the kids, and it got to a point where it was like I felt down, like you said, and then I figured like it's it was so hard to stop. I did some bad things, but I've done a lot of good things since. And my kids and my wife, they are happy right now. So I was pushing my mind to get out of there and enjoy the birds and the bees and the nature and the leaves and like the mountains. And there was so much beauty around me that that was in the past, and I cannot change the past. The past is the past, and you can't change it. No matter how hard you try, you can't change the past. I made like I've made mistake, but I've apologized for those mistakes to those that I hurt, and if the most of them did accept my apologies, I don't think I got any enemies from stuff that I did when I was drinking. I don't think I have. Maybe I do. I don't remember, but I don't care.
yeah,
Uh, but yeah, no, it just you can't. You got to focus on the future. Uh, I don't know if it came with something I was thinking or somebody told me, but at one point I realized that today is the first day for the rest of my life. So, like, whatever happened before, whatever happened in the past is gone. But today I can do something that will change my past from today on. So it's my first day for the rest of my life, and tomorrow is going to be the same. So
Yeah, I really like that part, because I know
I love
sometimes
it.
I like really get negative a little bit in my head, and I was like, oh yeah, I can use that. So I
yeah,
really like that part of the book, because I was like, yeah, I've done a lot of dumb things, and I still do a lot of dumb things, but I also do some good things. So
yeah.
focus
I
on those.
Yeah, I did it. I did a dumb thing like running a marathon 2 weekends ago.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it happens.
uh,
Decided to join this crazy guy that's going to be running through New Brunswick.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. That's me. Uh, do you find that like the when you're lost and you're trying to find that motivation, or not that motivation? How should I say this? So I guess this focusing on what you can control bit. This one piece of advice that my dad gave me: focus on what you can control. Don't worry about the past. I found once I discovered that, I battled with like who I was in the past, and it's almost harder than the quitting of the drinking part, or maybe that's what makes the quitting drinking hard. Dealing with your own little inner demons. I don't know if that's the right word, but like your own little battles of, oh my God, like I was an idiot. Why did I do that? Why did I do that? So you're dealing with that. It's it's almost harder than the urge for the drink, is battling with the guilt of who you were as a person. So getting over that, I think is uh, probably helps with. I don't think you're truly cured or recovered or whatever the world is until you're over that guilt. And I found that guilt would travel longer than the urges for me to drink. And
Yeah,
once I realized, sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead. I thought you were done.
That last comment I was going to say is, once I realized that really, I need to focus on what I can control and I can't change the past, kind of what you just said, I've applied it to my life, my business, my friendships, my charities. Like today, I had a meeting with a guy who wanted me to manage his wealth. And he was so down on himself because he blew himself up. He ruined his own portfolio. He lost, and he was so hurting himself. And yet this guy's wealthy, so he'll be fine. It's not an issue.
Right.
So I was just trying to tell him, and I had to give him a pep talk. So he decided to become a client, not because I told him that I would be the best stock manager for him, just because I gave him a pep talk and said that, you know what, it's okay what you did. Here's where you are today. You're making the right choices today. Today is the first day of your life. You focus on what you can control. So that whole thing has really kind of permeated my life now. So I love that you talk about it in the book.
Yeah. What I was going to say is also you're still feeling more guilt probably than me and Charlie because you're earlier in your sobriety than we are. Like those things for us are so far in the past, and you'll get there, Rob. Like in the first few years, you dwell on more on the things you've done, but after like 15 years, there's so much good things you've done after that. Uh, Sober that like it erases all the bad things you've done and everything you do like going forward, each event that you do, like you're running the New Brunswick or raising money, and all that erases a lot of the bad things that you've done, and you'll feel good about it, and it will they'll this everything will kind of disappear from your memory. That's why on DAT it did come back, because I had so much time to think and not much to accomplish other than walking one foot in front of the other every day. So a lot of the past came back, but a lot of the good past came back too when I was young kid and teenagers. And but you'll see, you'll get you in 5 years you'll be thinking differently than you are right now. I'm sure Charlie would agree with me.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely. Yeah.
it just I heard a quote I read in a book one time that something about looking at the bright side of everything. There were two. I might have talked about that in the book, but I don't think so because it's something I read in a book. But there's two convicts on death row, and they were going to be done with in a couple of days. They were both in a single cell, like in facing death, and it had rained all night or for 2, 3 nights. And the next day, they both looked outside. One guy saw the sun, the flowers, and the other guy saw mud. They were both looking exactly at the same thing. So that's something to me that always reminded me, look on the bright side of what's out there, not the dark side of what's out there, because they were exactly in the same boat, but they saw completely different things. So
Thank you, Louis.
I
Merci.
think I think it was Dale Carnegie that wrote that. I'm not sure,
Okay.
but it was. I tried to look at every event in life the same way. Like, people get all stressed out for little things, and I just,
Yes.
nobody's dead, nobody died. Like, tomorrow will be a different day. I don't look at it like that when I go to an accident that there's 3 people dead or something like that, with the fire department. But
That was
uh,
cool when you met Mini Grains in Boston, my cousin Mini Grains, and right
yeah.
away you had your firefighter jacket on or something, and he's chief of a fire department, rural fire department in Woodridge, and
Right.
you guys started talking about procedures and committees and saving lives and stuff. I was like, oh, that's so cool. You guys are so passionate about, volunteer firefighting and helping out the community, and that was cool.
Yeah, no, we were on the same page right away.
Yeah, yeah. And I met
Same
your
at,
wife.
uh,
We when you were talking about your wife, and like we were lucky enough to meet your wife there. She came on
yeah,
at the end of our chat, and she seemed like a
yeah,
fantastic lady.
she said the same thing about you.
She doesn't know. She doesn't know.
She told me to invite you here when you go through here. So, like, I don't know if you're doing camp life or hotels, or she said invite them for dinner or something. They got a, like, the whole crew, okay,
Okay,
depending on how many.
that means my parents and my aunt and uncle. That's a big crew.
Yeah, no, we could barbecue, but she did say, no, invite them. They look like very nice people. And like I say, I like to associate with positive, and you're a totally positive person. And you and Charlie, you're positive, and I like your podcast because of that. It's you spread positivity, not negativity. So
Merci, Louis. Merci. Thank you for that. Charlie, I know you have more questions, so I'll let you.
No, I think I
I do
mean,
want to.
I've got so many, like, one of the things that yeah, so one last one, it's very light. Um your dream of being a professional hockey player. I had the same dream when I was eight
Me
years
too.
old. But my parents told me, you should probably think about something else. So that was, yeah, anyways, that was just because I probably wasn't that great at hockey,
You played AAA hockey. You were pretty good.
but when I was a kid, I wasn't very good at it. But anyways, uh, so we have so many things in common. Being French, I know, like, in you said you had some problems with people maybe underestimating you because you were French. I felt I had the same
Oh my God,
experiences
we've
when
had
I
that
was like,
chip on our shoulder our whole lives.
I
but
would say,
yeah, I don't know. I just so many common things. But um, I don't know. I guess drinking. Actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, drinking was probably the one thing that probably hurt my chances of becoming really good at hockey. So that's kind of a bit of a regret, but not really. So not really a question. So I don't know. Just I
that's
really
okay.
your
Is
book.
this a is a therapy session?
Yeah, I just really enjoyed your book, and like I felt like I had so many common things. Like hockey's so much fun. Yeah, I don't know. Go ahead, Rob. I don't really have
No, I
questions.
just felt like immediately when I read your book, I had a feeling that I would connect well with you. So I was like, okay. So I reached out, and the funny part is I sent him the podcast. I'm like, hey, we host this podcast, and I sent it to you. And then when we met you in Boston, you're like, you had your ear pods in, and you're like, I'm listening to your podcast right now. And I was like, oh my God, we have a real fan. That's awesome.
No.
What I'd like to do is, well, I'll definitely see you in 2 weeks. So I am running across New Brunswick starting less than a week from today. I run across New Brunswick. I start in the northwest corner in Edmundston. I go all the way south, Grand Falls, Woodstock, pass through Fredericton, Moncton, and I finished in Memramcook and Amherst, right by Louise' I think I walk, jog right in front of your house, if I'm not mistaken. And you will be running a leg with me, the second last leg, I believe you're running with me. It's called the Mem Run Cook. Every day during that session, I want to host a small episode of the running journey, 10 to 15 minutes. I'm going to record it either with my dad or with TJ or with the guest. And I want to capture this experience because it was the coolest thing I've ever done last year, and I have no real memories of it other than what's up here. So I want to record like a 10, 15 episode. So I'll bring you on that day if we can, talk about our little half marathon. And if it works out and we go for dinner, great. If it doesn't work out, that's fine too. But at a minimum, I think I'd like to invite you back on at some point in the future because I feel like there's a lot that could be talked about. We haven't even talked about your experience in the Ironman, your experience, like how, what was your training like, and what was, this is a kind of a running/training podcast where all Charlie and I talk about is training and running and how fun our runs are and how fun our training sessions are. But I think there's a lot we could talk about. So I want to thank you. I'm going to share my screen real quick here. If you haven't had the opportunity yet and you're watching this, feel free to go to Amazon and buy the book. It's right here, From Addiction to Fitness. Louis Cormier. It's available for paperback for $15, on Kindle for $7. It's got a lot of phenomenal reviews, 34 ratings. It's done really, really well. So I'm thrilled that you're here with us. Go online, buy this book on Amazon right now. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Charlie, I don't know if you have anything to ask. Otherwise, I'll ask Louis for the last words.
Yeah, no.
Okay, Louis, anything else you want to leave our viewers with? You listen to this podcast. I mean,
no, this was a lot of fun, and I would gladly come back on and talk about training. I really enjoyed it. I enjoy your podcast. I listen to it, so I hope I enjoyed this one. Maybe I won't like this one as much because I never like hearing my voice. But talking about Ironman, just one comment there. I retired and I wanted something to do, so I think I talked about it in the book, but I registered in an Ironman and I said, if people can do it, I can do it. Then I registered in a swimming class because I did not know how to swim.
Oh, yeah.
So people can do it. You can do it. Everybody can do it. It's
you
like
literally didn't know how to swim.
I could not swim a lap, but I registered in an Ironman. So
yeah,
then
other people can figure it out. You can figure it out too, right?
Yeah, exactly. If people can do it, I'm retired. I got all kinds of time to swim. I'm going to swim every day, 2-3 times a day if I have to. I'm going to learn to swim, and I'm going to swim 4K. And then biking was no problem, and running I had done marathons before, but the swim was the challenge, and it was a big challenge. And training is hard, but it's fun.
I love this. This was definitely our most deep, thought-provoking episode for sure, by far. So I want to thank you for opening up a bit. Thank you, guys, the viewers, for tuning in. We always say, Charlie, you and I, that people are more capable of doing what they think, right? Like we always say, people can do this. And to hear you say it, Louis, I love it. I love to hear you say, we can put your mind to something, you can do it. So thank you for sharing today. We'll get you back on here, guys. That was another episode of The Running Journey. Next week, we'll probably record one more episode before I'm off to New Brunswick. And then hopefully I can run 550 kilometers over 2 weeks. Charlie, you got a whole bunch of races coming up. I think you're doing, what's your next race? You have a triathlon, St. Malo?
Well, I'm gonna be spectating. I think there's a big race this weekend that Curly is running.
Huge race.
Yeah.
My dog and I are gonna go try to win a 10K, the Furry Fast Furry Fast 10K.
Yeah.
But
I'll be paying attention to that race.
You're coming, or you'll just watch online?
I'll just check their Strava maybe, but I might go and watch.
So when I took him for the last training run, I pushed a little bit. I ran like a Louise, like, what are these guys talking about? So I signed up my dog for a 10K, myself for a 10K. So I'm going to go run with him. And for some reason, I want to win this thing. Probably like you, Louis, when you're talking about winning this mountain bike thing. And I want to win it for Curly. but maybe I
Yeah,
don't. Maybe I really
Curly's a
want to
good
win.
runner though. Curly's a really good runner though, right?
Curly's a good runner. He is a very good runner. So I think I might be the problem here because I had a bit of a hard time doing that 48-minute 10K. But he had a hard time at first. He's like, why are we going so fast? He was so confused. He didn't understand because usually when I jog with him, I jog slow. So we've talked way more about this race than we probably should because it's a 10K. But I'm excited to run with Curly, and my wife's like, "You're gonna kill that dog. You are gonna kill that dog because he can't tell you when to stop." But I think what I'm going to do, Charlie, is I'm going to do a 5K warm up with him first, or like a 2K or a 3K, and I'm going to
Yeah.
push 1 mile to get his heart rate up, maybe 15, 20 minutes before. I'm going to treat it like a half marathon for him
Yeah, Curly
because
needs
he's
a
got
warm
the
up, I
cardio.
think. Yeah.
What's that, Charlie?
Curly might need a warm up, yeah.
Well, I think he needs a warm
I
up,
don't know. I don't know how it works with dogs, but
and maybe his owner needs a cardio.
Yeah.
Maybe his owner needs a warm up too. So realistically, I was kind of hoping to do like 42, 43 minutes, but I don't think I can do a 42, 43 minute right now. So my goal is kind of 45 minutes.
oh, okay.
And I know
Good.
you're disappointed in that time, but I
No,
don't want
you
to.
you can do 43, 42 for sure.
Okay, but I'll have an
Think
excuse. Worst case, Curly wasn't
yeah.
able to do it.
Yeah.
He wouldn't go. He wouldn't go. He wasn't going.
Yeah, yeah.
There'll be 1,000 other dogs too, so I wonder how that's gonna go. Louis,
Okay,
you
well
have a
good
race
luck.
coming up. Wait, yeah, and you have a race
Huh?
coming up, Louis, right? You have a race coming up?
I got a race coming up. I'm organizing a race to help kids, underprivileged kids, to clothe them. It's next Saturday, starting the same day you're starting
Same
to
day as
run
my jog. Yeah, it's in Moncton,
on the
right?
fort. So it's in Memramcook, actually.
Memram Cook. Awesome.
It's in Memramcook. We got so far about 215 runners registered. So
Wow.
it's coming along good. We've
That's
raised,
way more than I have registered.
yeah, we're up to about 25,000, 25K in fundraising. So it's
And what's the name of the
I'll make a
race?
donation. Yeah. Where can someone
cash
go?
cash show warm heart,
How do you spell
Okay.
that?
like warm hearts. Cash show, the COEURS.
Oh, Car
See,
Show. Got it.
Car
cash
car
show,
show. Yeah.
cash
Warm
show,
hearts.
warm hearts. Yeah.
Car Show.
Uh,
Warm Hearts. You could sign up on the website.
yeah, on race roster.
Yeah. Oh yeah, a lot of people registered. A lot of people registered. It
That's
is
going to be
great.
a fast one. That's going to be a fast one, I think.
Yeah, we got a 5K, 10K, and then we got 100-meter, 400-meter, and a 1K for the kids. So
Oh, 100 meter. My kids would love it.
yeah, that's under 6.
Yeah. My 4-year-old, he would love the 100 meter. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that should be. That's my next event, and after that,
A half
I'll be glad
marathon.
I'll be glad it's over. Then I start training for the half marathon.
There's
No,
the link to your race here at the bottom, race roster.
great
Please, guys,
stuff.
sign up for that, and I think you can make a donation right on here, I believe, right?
Yes, you
Yeah.
can.
So thanks for
So,
organizing that, guys. I know we went a little longer than we wanted to today, but that was a fun time. And Louis, thank you for coming on. I'll see you in a couple of weeks, and I'll be in touch. Maybe we'll line up a dinner.
yeah, no, you're like I say, my wife did invite you, so and it's Charlie too, if you want to come over.
I might have to fly down just for the meal.
Acadian, a good Acadian dish.
Oh, they
Yeah.
make good food. They make good food. Merci, Louis. Thank you, guys.
I
We'll see you guys.
thank you guys. Thank you very much. Okay,
Thank
bye.
you. Okay.